Hello and welcome to Bruno's Geek Reviews. Today I'm going to review a board game called Dungeon with an exclamation point. This is a really fun game to play with your friends, or you can even play alone. There's like an option to play alone. I haven't tried it yet. It's a little bit different. But I'm going to talk about like basically the game when you play with friends. So you can play from 1 to 8 players. So for a while I'll be talking about from 2 to 8 because I haven't tried a single game yet. I'm not even sure I will, but anyway. Basically this game is, for starters, is really not expensive, so that's really cool. I bought this one for 20 bucks. So that's a really affordable price for a board game, especially because board games are the kind of stuff that everyone likes. I haven't met anyone who's like, maybe they won't like every kind of board game, but usually people like board games. It's fun, you get with friends, you play, it's social. But they can be kind of expensive, you go to the store and you see the prices. So for $20, this is really easy to try out and get into. And now, what's really fun about this is that, as you can see, it's from the Dungeons & Dragons brand. So this isn't anything related to role-playing. It's not a box set for a role-playing setting or adventure or whatever. But I found today that this is a gateway game if you want to get people into D&D. And that's really funny because the previous video I did was about getting new players into D&D. And if I had done that video after today, I would have included this as a way to get people into at least Dungeons & Dragons, because basically the funny story is we were playing this and it's kind of like Dungeons & Dragons without the roleplay, I guess you could say, this game, in a way. I'll explain more in a bit, but first I want to just mention what happened. And in my previous video about when I was explaining how to bring new players to D&D, I explained that one of my friends actually, when he was invited to try for the first time, he left after creating the character sheet. He found an excuse and left, so, and actually that was the same friend who today actually asked more about D&D after playing this. He kind of inquired, like, oh, so how's D&D? And I was with a friend of mine, and she actually told him anecdotes of games I DM'd where she was a player. And he seemed interested, so it was kind of like, that was kind of funny. So this is cool. This is like, I found a gateway game to get people into D&D. I'm really happy about that. I've been looking for a secret for a long time. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to talk about this game. It's really cool. It's basically I'm going to show you the map. Bear with me for a moment. Oh, dropped something. Just a moment. There's a lot of stuff there. Sorry about that. Okay, so it comes with 2 die and D6s, and you have lots of cards and tokens for the game, and then you have the basically the characters you'll move around on the board. See, like this. So you have anyway, everything you need. So I'm going to explain it. And basically what it is you play adventurers in a dungeon. And this is a competing game. It's not a cooperative game like Dungeons & Dragons would normally be. In this game you compete against other players. And sorry, I have to get rid of this so I can show you a map. I'm putting it in the other box. So basically you can choose between 4 races. 4 classes. And you have the rogue, or thief maybe they call it in this one. It depends on every version of D&D. So you have the thief, rogue type, you have the cleric, you have the fighter, and you have the wizard. And basically what happens is when you have the dungeon, and every class kind of has its strengths and weaknesses, if you will. Or in some cases, like the fighter, for example, is really good at fighting, but it'll be more complicated for the fighter to finish the game before the others, because this game is a race. So basically you're playing adventurers in a dungeon, and you're trying to, you're looting the dungeon, you're fighting monsters, looting the dungeon, and basically you try to get as much treasure as possible, and as soon as you get enough treasure to win, you come back to the center and you win. So it's a race basically. So this is the board. Very. So as you can see, like there's different classes, and some of them are stronger. Like the wizard is really strong, and the fighter is strong too. But then you'll need more gold to win. So basically, you loot the rooms, you fight the monsters, and then when you have enough treasure, and here they tell you how much every class needs to win. And when you have enough treasure to win, you have to go back to the center. And sometimes what happens is like two players can like have the treasure like enough at the same time. They're trying to race back to the middle. It's really funny. And you see there's different colors. So every section has a different level. And the higher you go in the level in the section, like if you decide to go fight monsters there, so the higher you go, the harder the monsters are to beat, but the higher the treasure rewards are. So then you have to decide whether you want to take a risk and like go for more dangerous monsters and more treasure, or play it safer. So it's up to you. Personally, the trick I found, which it really works, is for those who are going to play the game or try. I think the fighter, you start in a great hall, and you take a fighter and you go there to the level 4, and you just do this area, and then if you're lucky, you'll draw enough treasure to be able to finish the game just from this area, and then you can come back to the great hall. If you're lucky with the treasure picks. So I always take the fighter and go in this section, and then come back. It's really quick to do. Anyway. So what's fun is that, like, I played it 2 nights with a friend of mine. She and I really liked it. We played for 2 nights, and then today one of my friends came over too, and we played like with 3 players, and it was even more fun. Because what happens is when you fight a monster, if you lose, you can't lose treasure if you lose the fight. So if you lose the treasure, it stays there, and then some other player can come, and if he defeats the monster, he can pick up that treasure. So basically he steals your loot. So that's really funny, and you can't fight between players, you can't. So it's really funny. All you can do is like shake your fist, and you're like, damn you, you know. So basically when you go into a room, what you do is you pick up a monster card, and like here we have the vampire, and you see there's different numbers at the bottom. So depending on your class, you have to roll your dice, and get that number or higher depending on what class you have to defeat a monster. So some classes will find it easier to beat certain monsters compared to others. It really depends. Even the wizard, who's usually the weakest at fighting, like in combat, will have some monsters that he or she will find easier to beat. So yeah, so in these 4 classes you have 2 of each, male and female. And so basically you have like up to 8 characters, 8 players. And once you defeat a monster, you pick up treasure appropriate to the monster in room you beat. And if you pick a wizard, it's a little bit more well, not really complex. It's basically you have spells. So you roll a d6 plus 6. It gives you an amount of spells, and you have these cards that just represent the spells, and you get to pick in whatever combination you want. You have 3 spells. So for example, let's say I roll a d6, I get 4, so plus 6, that means I get 10 spells, so I get to pick 10 spell cards. And you have 3 spells. You have teleportation to like move between in the area faster, and you have fireball and lightning bolt. And these 2 are like attack spells. They're pretty much the same, but some monsters will be easier to fight with fireball and others with lightning bolt. So you could, like, for example, if you have 10 spells, you could grab 10 of the same, or 5 of 2, or like grab 1 of these and like more. Anyway, so you could, whatever combination you want. And the wizard, the advantage is that you can for example, go next to a room, next to the door, and stay out, and then attack the monster with a spell, and you still wasted the spell, but even if you fail, the monster doesn't attack you because you're outside the room. The only disadvantage is that the wizard needs the most treasure to win, and it's really a lot. So let's say you're unlucky with your spells, and you spend them and you haven't beat enough monsters to win, and whatever, or you just got a shitty roll on the amount of spells you'll get at the beginning. Let's say you have 1 and only 7 spells for the game. You have to go back to the middle of the dungeon. You have to spend a whole turn just to like get back 1 spell. So the wizard is kind of like a really fun class to play if you're into strategy. You're choosing what spell you want. If you're not, or if you kind of want to play it safer, but at the same time, you're kind of like, it's kind of luck how many spells you'll get at the beginning, and also a matter of if you run out of spells, then you're out of luck because you're the worst one of the 4 to fight, and you're the one who needs more treasure. So you might have to waste time in the middle regaining spells. What is actually really fun is doing a game like if you're only 2 players. I think it's actually really fun to do like a 2 wizards game. That's what I did with my friend, and she and I, when we were only playing the 2 of us, we actually had different combinations of games. I usually pick fighter, but I think for 2 players, it's actually fun to have, like, it adds a little something, because what happens is that usually when you're in this game, what's really fun, like I said, is you can get your loot stolen, your treasure stolen. But when you're 2 players, especially if you pick the same class, you actually get to be in the same levels and areas. Whereas she often picks a rogue, I often pick a fighter, and what happens is the rogues usually tend to go to lower levels, so they have kind of like you know, their treasure is lower, but at the same time they need less to win. So it's balanced out with a fighter who goes to higher levels and gets more treasure, but needs more to win. It's balanced out. So the only thing that happens basically is that the rogue will be in lower areas and the fighter will be in higher areas compared to the rogue. And then when it's only 2, it's kind of like really just a race, because we very rarely did we get to go steal the loot that another player lost in a room before the next one's turn, you know, because it's a pretty big place. So with 2 players, if you don't pick 2 classes that are the same where you'll be in the same area, you kind of lose the aspect of having the other players who might steal your stuff, which is actually very exciting. It adds something to the game. But that's just a little thing. So I find it loses, when you're only 2, it's more of a race. It's still very fun, but it loses a little bit of the complexity. So having wizards and like having the casting and everything, and makes it really fun. But yeah, my favorite class is the fighter though. That's just me, because he fights really well and you can go for high treasure. It's really quick. You're not stuck depending on the spells like the wizard, because the wizard you might, I mean, if you grab a 6 on your die, that's awesome. You have 12 spells, that's really cool. But if you end up with less than that, it's kind of like less of a good choice, because the wizard needs a lot of treasure to win. The rogue is good. The thing, like, the rogue and cleric are pretty much the same. The thing about the rogue is he's the one that there's like hidden doors in this map. Like you see kind of like stuff that is in between, like that's not like attached, is a hidden door. So you can go through there by rolling, but if you fail, you lose your turn instead of going through it. So you might want to take a shotgun and end up losing your whole turn. So the rogues are the ones who have the easiest time going through secret doors, but they're the worst fighters in general. So that's actually pretty cool as an idea, that okay, so they're the worst fighters, but they can get to places easier. But the problem I found is that there's a card in the treasure pile. You can find a card that allows you to go through secret doors without having to roll. But the thing is, in all of the games I've played, it comes up so often that very soon, like sooner than later, without exception, every player has one. So the advantage of the rogue ends up being lost, is what I've found to take place. So you have the cleric, who needs as much treasure as the rogue, which is not that much, like, to win, but he's a little bit better at fighting, he or she. With some really rare exceptions, like in some cases the rogue is better at fighting some stuff than the cleric, but it really doesn't happen very often. So yeah, I think you're better off taking the cleric rather than the rogue, because the advantage that the rogue has doesn't last long. So very soon you'll pick up the treasure card where you can go through doors. Although maybe if you're playing, I don't know, I have like the maximum players I've played it is 3 players, so maybe if you're like a bigger group, maybe you run out of these cards, and that's when the rogue really shines. Like if you don't have the card, you can still go through those doors. I'd have to try it out. I'll certainly try to play with more. I haven't even read the rules for a single player game yet, but my friend did, and she told me that's basically you go through the dungeon and you also play around like you have a monster running after you. So you can like play your own monster. I might try it out just to see at some point out of curiosity. It's kind of like playing solitaire with cards, you know, so maybe a little more complex. What I would have to say is, it's a little bit intimidating at first when you see this because there's so much stuff. You know, you have so many tokens and stuff like that, and you have stuff on the side here, and you're like, how does that work? It's actually not like, if take the time to read it, like have more than read it, give it to your friends so they can read it too, and between all of you, you can really quickly see it's actually pretty easy. Like these things to the side, it's just easy. You have tokens with numbers, for example 2. So if at the end of the turn, like a monster is still alive, you put the 2 there, and then you put the card of the monster next to the 2 in here. That's all. That's all that this is. And if the monster has some treasure, you put underneath the card of the monster. So you know it's easy to keep track of. Apparently, older versions of this game had bigger rooms and a bigger like board. Sorry. So you could actually have the cards themselves in the rooms, like, and then you flip them over when you enter a room, and you could leave the treasure in the rooms themselves. It actually sounds pretty cool because it, you know, you don't have to do the whole token thing every time. That sounds really cool. But at the same time, I look at the pictures of the older versions and everything, and this one looks really pretty. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, and a little detail is basically when you kill a monster, you end up putting a little token, like a graveyard token here, so you know the room is cleared. You have the chambers, which are more dangerous. You can have up to 3 monster encounters in it, not at the same time, but one after the other, and you can't even win any treasure in them. So basically you just avoid them. And they're useful for, in some cases, some traps will send you to one of the chambers, or wizards, the teleport skull I mentioned before, can teleport from one chamber to the other, but they can be there can be more than one level of difference between the chambers. And when you land there, the wizard has to fight physically a monster if the chamber is not cleared. So I would say if you're a player like going against a wizard, more than ever try to avoid clearing a chamber, because you want the wizards to, like, if they do a teleport, you want it to be dangerous for them. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So I really recommend it, both as a fun geek game or just like a tabletop game. I might actually try to get my family into this because it's actually fun. Like next time I go visit the family, maybe I'll be like, hey, let's try this game, you know. And like I said, this game is, well, now I have the stuff inside, I can't show you the cover again, but Dungeon is a gateway game into D&D. Think about it. This is really cool. This is like a secret weapon if you wanted to bring friends into D&D. Okay, so thanks for watching.